Good evening, dear friends. With this presentation, we are going to discuss about phases of or different phases of cardiac cycle. Uh, in between two beats, what is happening and what are the things is getting ready and make your heart a perfect ejection from left and right ventricle to circulate systemic and pulmonary circulation. Okay, with this in between two beats, what are the changes occurred within the heart chamber and nodal activity? This thing only we are going to discuss with this slide. And phases of cardiac cycle is nothing but the serious electrical events that occur as a heartbeats. When you talk about heartbeats, we must consider systole and diastole. Systole is nothing but contraction of myocard chambers, and diastole is relaxation of heart chambers. Okay, the phases of cardiac cycle will be divided into seven different phases. Each and every phases it has its own functional method. Okay, before that, what is systole and diastole? And systole is nothing but when heart is contracted, the amount of pressure and blood is exerted against the arteries, that is called systole, and it will be a 90 to 120 mmHg. And diastole is nothing but when heart is relaxed, how much pressure is created and how much blood is ejected from the receiving the blood in the chamber. That will be around 60 to 80 mmHg. Okay, this is about heartbeats. And systolic blood pressure is nothing but the when heartbeat is happen, how much pressure is created against the heart, that is called systolic blood pressure. And diastolic blood pressure is nothing but when heart is relaxed or rest, how much pressure is created against the artery, that is called diastolic blood pressure. Okay, so phases of cardiac cycle, very simple. There will be two major phases. Atrial systole is single phase, ventricular systole is three phase, and complete cardiac diastole is three phases. So 3 plus 3 plus 1, 7 phases, and 7 phases it has its own timing also. So 8 seconds one cycle is completed. So per minute it will be around 70 to 60 to 80 cycle per minute. So already I told you, seven phases are there in the phases of cardiac cycle. First one is atrial systole. Atrial systole is nothing but the inferior, superior, and the coronary sinus one side, and another side is pulmonary return blood. So the left and right atria, it will fill the blood and make it eject the blood towards the ventricle. That will be a 1 second. And ventricular systole is nothing but it get relax, contract. And the first second phase is isometric ventricular contraction. This will be pressure will be created, but there is no change in the volume. So pressure is created, and the timing will be 0.05 seconds. And as a third phase is rapid ventricular ejection. So rapid ventricular ejection is nothing but the isometric volume contraction. It will get relaxed, and the pressure will be created and filling the left ventricle. And the third phase is rapid ventricular ejection. It will be 0.15 seconds. And fourth phase, reduced ventricular ejection. After ejecting maximum volume from left and right ventricle, the volume will be reduced, the pressure will be reduced. So the fourth phase will be reduced ventricular ejection. It will be 0.1 seconds. And ventricular diastole, after fourth phase, there is a isovolumetric volumetric ventricular relaxation. There is no change in volume will be remain same, and pressure will be created in the ventricle because it get expand. And the sixth phase is rapid ventricular filling after relaxation of both chamber, left and right ventricular chamber. Your your ventricle is filling by opening of atrioventricular valves. And seventh phase is reduced ventricular filling. So after filling maximum in the sixth phase, seventh phase is completely reduced. It will be around 0.2 seconds. So these seven stages we used to call it as phases of cardiac cycle. So first phase will be both atria contract and eject the blood into the ventricle. So this is about the atrial system phase one. And atrial pressure, we are talking about atrial pressure in the left and right chamber. Initially it increases due to reduction of atrial volume, and then volume blood will be ejected from corresponding ventricles, so that pressure will be uh, uh, decreased. And second thing is ventricular pressure. Initially there will be a less pressure, less blood volume. And the third one is ventricular volume. Ventricular volume also increased slightly due to ventricular dilation. When ventricular chamber, it will get dilated, it will get relaxed. So volume will be increased. So pressure also slightly increased. And the fourth one is AV valves are open while semilunar valve closed. Okay, so AV valve, when atrial pressure is greater than the ventricular pressure, automatically AV valve it get open, and semilunar valve are closed. So aortic pressure, it is in the pulmonary, systemic circulation, where the it is decreased the pressure due to continuous blood flow from the aortic to periphery. So after contraction, there will be there are some blood is remain in the tube, so that it will get flow. So the pressure will be reduced. So sixth one is odd sound. The fourth odd sound is recorded in this first phase by closing semilunar valve and opening AV valves. This is about first phase. So first phase is very clear. The both atria is contract and ejecting the blood into the both ventricles. So phase one is very simple. It will be the atria, right atria, left atria. It will open the AV valves and push the blood to ventricles. Okay, so the semilunar valve are closed, pulmonary valve, and second one is the aortic valve are closed. So atrial atrial chamber, it will push the blood to ventricle. Second phase is it is early phase of ventricular contraction, in which ventricle start contract, but there is no change. Isometric ventricular contraction. That means pressure will be created. All the walls are closed. So there will be a increasing of pressure within the chamber and walls. So ventricular wall and ventricular pressure and wall gradually uh, the ventricular contract isometrically without shortening of ventricular muscle, but pressure is gained. No volume is changed. No volumes are changed. Blood volume cannot be changed because pressure only created. And walls, ventricular wall pressure are greater than the atria. It cause close AV valve and semilunar valve. So still both the valves are closed in this phase. And the first heart sound will be recorded in this second phase. And atrial pressure slightly increased due to bringing of AV cups to aorta. And aortic pressure is decreased about 80 Hg at the end of phase. So at the end of phase, it is going to open AV valves and push the blood into uh, 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 So isovolumetric ventricular contraction, there is no change in the chamber because all the valves are closed. Chamber pressure is still remain in the ventricle, and area is getting the blood. So there is no change in the blood. And phase 3, semilunar valve or open, blood is ejected into greater aorta artery. The second phase, AV valve also closed, already semilunar valve is closed. So the pressure is created because of the ventricular myocardial layer is get contract, so that the pressure will be generated. The ventricle pressure is greater than the atrial pressure. So semilunar valve are opened and eject the blood from left and right ventricle. So ventricular volume and pressure, the ventricles are contract. So ventricle contract and releasing the volume, and so ventricle volumes are reduced and chamber pressure is increased. So valves, AV valves are still closed and semilunar valve so exceed the pressure. So in this phase, continuation of first heart sound, and the atrial pressure decreases because of its widening and its cavity, and then increase due to filling of blood. The aortic pressure markedly increased due to ejection of blood from left and right ventricle. It will be around 100 mmHg. This is about phase second. So phase second is very simple. AV valves are closed. The semilunar valve already closed. Because of this, the myocardial layer get contract, so that the pressure will be increased more than. So automatically semilunar valve are opened, and sound will be first heart sound. The aortic pressure is increased due to ejection of blood from ventricle. So in this phase, ventricular continuous contracting, pressure is greater than the aortic pressure. Opening of aortic valve, most of the stroke volume ejected during this phase reduced left ventricular volume. The fourth phase or continuation of those occurring in process of preceding phase. Reduced ventricular after ejecting the blood in the third phase. Fourth phase, there will be no further ejecting. So volume will be reduced, pressure will be reduced. Uh, so ventricular volume further decreased, and ventricular pressure still decreased, and aortic pressure still slightly decreased, and valves, semilunar valve are open, AV valves are closed, and sound, there is no sound in this phase, and atrial pressure still increasing due to venous return blood. So this is about the valves. AV valves are closed. See, tricuspid, bicuspid are closed, but pulmonary valve is open and aortic valve is open, so that left ventricle it circulates systemic circulation, right ventricle it supply pulmonary circulation. So aortic pressure falls, and the remaining left ventricle volume still being ejected, and so this is about the fourth phase. And fifth phase, isovolumetric ventricular relaxation. In this phase, the volume will be same, and ventricular pressure is reduced, and no filling of blood. So blood volume will be remain same. So ventricular volume remains same, and ventricular pressure are sharply reduced by 5 mmHg, and aortic pressure initially increased due to elastic recoil. So due to relaxation of ventricle, there will be a recoiling of its nature, so that the pressure is gradually decreases due to continuous blood flow in the peripheral artery, and then the valves, semilunar valve are suddenly closed because AV valves are open. The refilling of AV valve, the pressure is created, so that the AV valves are closed, and the semilunar valves are also suddenly closed. So in this phase, here the second heart sound, and atrial pressure still increasing continuous venous return blood. And left ventricle relax, reduce left ventricle pressure. Uh, aortic valves are closed, left ventricle volumes are constant. So here the ventricles are relaxed, and the flow of pulmonary circuit and uh, inferior and superior vena cava and the coronary sinus also filled the blood. So left ventricle pressure will be low. And sixth phase, this is rapid ventricle refilling. After filling of atrial, the pressure exceed more than the ventricle pressure. So AV valves are open and rapidly filling the both ventricles. So ventricle pressure initially decreased due to ventricle relaxation and then markedly increased due to refilling of blood from pulmonary circuit and inferior superior vena cava. And then atrial pressure is initially increased due to rush blood into ventricle and then increases due to venous return blood. And aortic pressure still decreases due to continuous flow of blood from periphery. And valves are the closest semilunar valves, and the sound will be third order sound will be recorded in this phase. So rapid refilling of ventricular chamber from atrial to ventricle. And left ventricle relax, left ventricle pressure will be falls lowest level, and mitral valves are open, left ventricular valve volume will be increased in this phase. And phase 7, slow ventricular filling phase. Slow ventricular filling phase is the previous phase, rapid filling of ventricular chamber. This is last phase of cardiac cycle, so that the already the chamber will be full, so automatically there will be a very a low amount of blood will be transferred from atria to ventricle. So ventricular volume pressure gradually increased at slow rate, and atrial pressure still increased due to venous return, and aortic pressure still decreasing due to continuous blood flow from aortic to peripheral arteries. And valves, AV valves are open, but semilunar valves still closed, and the sound will be no sound in this phase. So in this phase, the right atria, left atria, it will get open semilunar and tricuspid and bicuspid, and it will fill the left and right ventricle. So the chamber will be full, pressure will be higher. So automatically next phase is next cycle is started. So immediately the valves, AV valves are closed, and automatically there will be opening of semilunar valve, in the, like pulmonary valve and AV valves are aortic valves are open and eject the blood. This is our second cycle, and the duration of cardiac cycle will be 8 seconds, and atrial systole 1, and atrial diastole is 7 seconds, so 8. So ventricular systole is 3 seconds, and ventricular diastole 5 seconds, so totally 8. So around 8 seconds per cycle is it will be completed. So per minute it will be around 72 beats per minute. So heart chamber pressure is differ. So left ventricle 120 bar 15, right ventricle 25 bar 5, right atria 4 to 5 mm, and pulmonary arteries are left atria 25 bar 10, and aortic pressure is 120 bar 8. Actually, this is recorded as a pulse, pressure of an individual. So up to this, we have discussed 7 phases of cardiac cycle: atrial systole, ventricular diastole 3 phase, ventricular systole 3 phase. So totally 7 phase. Within this 7 phase, how the pressure is created, where it is what are the valves are open, when aortic pressure is created, what are the valves open, and when the ventricular pressure is higher, what are the valves is open, and how the blood is receiving and ejecting. All these things within this presentation we have discussed so far. Thank you very much.